You are watching episode number 2 of Little Black Dots. I am your host, Jonathan Andrew Rysdon. Hard rock soul. Hard rock soul. A lot of artists have a difficult time being placed into a category. The last thing that they may want is to be stuffed into a box. Music is freedom, and so therefore, the one who is creating should be free to create. But we all know this is not necessarily the case. And most of the time, most of us, we end up settling down, finding a niche, which is not always a bad thing, but it happens. This is, however, untrue of our next guest, who continues to push their own musical boundaries. I'm very excited to introduce to you today Zachary Green. He was born in Michigan and has moved around a bit. Del has ended up in Phoenix, Arizona, where he is currently the frontman of the successful group Burned Bridges. Del is also a solo artist who is currently working diligently on both projects. Before bringing Del in and introducing him to everyone, I'd like for us to take a couple moments to listen to an excerpt from his recent solo work. This piece is titled, "What's So Good About Goodbyes?" Alrighty, if you're going to want to hear that, and I know you will, you're going to have to look for it, and we'll provide you with those links at the end of the interview. Del, there he is.
Hey.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm well. I'm happy that you're here. I'm happy to get started. So what do you say if we just get right into it?
Let's do it.
So I like to start from the beginning. Let's start in Michigan. And what was childhood like growing up in Michigan for you?
It was pretty good. It was pretty decent. I don't really have any complaints. My mom did the best she could, and this is where I ended up. So life was pretty decent. So I don't really have any complaints.
Okay, so you were raised by your mom. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Did you have any siblings?
Yeah, me and my sister. It was me and my sister, and then later on, I got a younger sister as well. So, but yeah, it was the two oldest for some years.
Okay, so you grew up with your sisters, and how close in age were the three of you?
I'm not telling my age, but let's just put it like this: there's 15 years between me and the youngest, and then about a year and probably a year and a half between me and the next one. So I'm the oldest.
Okay, you're the oldest. So did you end up taking care of your mom growing up?
My mother was pretty independent, so I didn't really have to go that route. But she was pretty independent, which is probably where I really got it from.
So do you look up to your mom a lot?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yep, that's who it was for some years, for a lot of years growing up. So
okay, that's great. So growing up, 3 siblings. Two siblings and your mom. What was grade school like for you before, going into high school? Were you interested in music, interested in sports? Did you have a lot of friends?
Well, music was always there. My mother used to sing briefly when she back in church when I was a kid. So she did it briefly, and then I'm the one that really caught on that it hit me at 5 or 6 years old. So and I was the one that really started doing it. No one knew for years that I could sing. And so, I just kind of kept it, I just kind of kept it under wraps and kept it in, kept it in the church. So, um, until about, until I got into my 20s when I really just started, slowly branching out a little bit in college and, doing it. But I still kind of kept it low key, because I didn't want to, get caught up in all the little groups and things like that. People knew that I could, could do a little bit of something. Um, and just kept it low key for years, actually.
Interesting. Why do you think you kept it low key?
One because I knew vocally I was different. Um, the scene that I was around at the time was more, it was more of the guys with, more of the R&B singers that could hit the high notes and all those things, with the falsettos and, those, my voice, at least from my standpoint, it was more, had more of a bottom, had more of a heavier tone. I have the range and I can hit the notes and do the falsettos and all that, but it was really just trying to find my niche and where I fit in. I mean, I can do jazz, rock, blues, soul, country. I can, do all of those, but really just try. So mostly, but the best training I say for anybody, especially coming up in church, I think some of the best training is church.
So that, I imagine, your mother had brought you all to church and you saw her singing there, and maybe you saw the whole congregation singing there, so you thought, hey, this is a safe place to sing?
Well, I mean, I've been in choir since I was a kid. So, I mean, like I said, my mom did it briefly, but just that little bit of time that she did it, I was the one that really caught on to it. But I've been in choirs and youth groups and things like that ever since I was a kid.
So a little bit of time singing. Did she just stop singing? Did you end up not going to church anymore?
No, still went to church, still go to church. No, still, no, she didn't. I don't know. Maybe it just wasn't, her thing. I don't know. I can't speak for my mom on that one, but I was the one that really, like I said, I was the one that it really stuck. And so, and I've always had a thing for voices and, arranging vocals and things like that, listening to all the records and all the records that she had, growing up. So, and that's where I was listening to that and growing up, just doing all that.
What was mom playing on the radio when you were growing up?
Man, we listened to everything. I mean, from everybody from Marvin Gaye to Tina Marie to a lot of R&B and soul artists, Patti LaBelle, Shaka Khan, Aretha Franklin, Donny Hathaway. Oh my God! I mean, it was. I mean, a little bit of everything. I mean, I had a young parent, so I heard all the happening music, growing up as a kid. So it was Gladys Knight. I mean, it was some of everybody. On the R&B side and gospel. Gospel I got in. I discovered more so gospel, on my own, growing up, due to being in church, but a lot of R&B and soul music growing up.
Okay, so I'm curious, because you kind of kept that to yourself, the singing. Do you think that you kept that to yourself because you were vocally different from your peers?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that, at least in my head, I was, different, different as far as, my singing approach and my tone and, all those things. And like I said, when I was in a choir, in choirs, I mean, it was totally fine. I never wanted to be a lead singer or anything like that. Because one, I had to grow into my voice, because I knew it was different. I had to grow into it, and then I had to find my, plus I had to be comfortable, with the voice, that I had, so, and I wasn't, I feel my vocal style is not really like really smooth. There's a slight raspiness there. And, there were those voices at the time. Everybody was trying to be the Luther Vandross, or trying to be the Steve Perrys, and trying to be those guys, and I wasn't those guys.
And that can be kind of difficult, I think, especially when you're a creative person, and being creative is expressing yourself, when you have other people that are kind of all striving to sound similar, and then there
Right.
you are, and you sound different, and you stand out for what's perceived as the wrong reasons. I mean, that sort of thing, it still continues, right? People are
Oh yeah.
trying,
Oh yeah.
So what do you think about that?
Fitting, trying to fit into a particular stereotype.
Absolutely.
Um, well, I've never been that guy, and at this point, I never will be. I've had to fight a little harder, to get to the point to where I'm at now. I don't want to jump, too far ahead, but to get to where I'm at now, doing the type of music that I want to do, doing the type of music that fits me, whether it's R&B, like What's So Good, or whether it's hard rock soul, with the band Burn Bridges. So I'm at the point now, I'm doing what I want to do, and I feel it's on the level where we're at right now, and where I'm at right now, that, the hard work, has been paying off and starting to pay off.
Okay, so I'll refrain from going into the current items. I think we've got the childhood kind of narrowed down a little bit. High school. So high school, what's high school like for Dal? Are you playing sports? Are you one of the popular kids at school?
I was very quiet. Believe it or not, I'm actually pretty shy. A lot of people may find that hard to believe, but I really am. High school, I didn't really do a lot in high school. It was just really all about the academics for me in high school, and I just pretty much stuck with that. Like in junior high, I did like track and field and swimming, and then by the time I got to high school, it was just really about academics for me. I didn't really do a whole lot. I really wasn't a social person, in high school. It just. That's really, I was glad high school was over when I graduated. I was so glad I was done with that phase. So I was ready to move on, and that's what I did. It wasn't bad, but I was glad I was ready to move on. I mean, I did great in high school. Grades were good, and all those things. So
High school, was it a challenge for you beyond the academics?
no, I mean, like I said, I wasn't a very social person, and I know that could be, I had my circle of friends, and that's what I stuck to. I had a couple friends, had a couple relatives, we were all in school together, so I really just stuck with that, that group of people, and that was really, really it, and I know it's kind of hard nowadays for kids, being in school, and I think the peer pressure is even worse now than what it was, when I was in school, all the stuff that a lot of these kids have to deal with now, especially with, depression and, suicide, and, all those things, as well. And I'm like, oh my God, and I know what some of that feels like. I know what it feels like to be bullied. And this is for anybody out there who's watching or listening. Hey, don't ever give a bully the upper hand. And, it may be rough, but don't ever give them the upper hand.
That's interesting. Were you bullied in high school, grade school?
A little bit, but nothing to the point to where I was like, you know what? I always focused on what my goals were. I mean, I had goals as a kid. My thing is, just stay focused on what I had to do, and thank God for the friends that I had, at that time, they stuck by my side. So I know, I know what that feels like to not have people around, and also have people around as well.
Did the music help you through it? I know that you mentioned that.
Always.
But so if you're kind of keeping the music to yourself, in other words, I know you phrased it a little bit differently. how did you tap into that when you were dealing with these external things at school, etc.?
Well, I mean, music was always, like I said, music has been in my life ever since I can, and like I said, ever since I can remember. And I mean, it was always, my escape as well, And, it wasn't like I was, how do I want to, say this? It wasn't like I was, hmm, how do I really want to say this? I mean, I'll go back. So music basically was, it was my therapy. It was my go-to. It was, it was like my brother, my sister, it was like that music has always been that family member, to me. And if it wasn't for music, and I tell this story when I perform live with the band. I tell a little bit of this story. If it wasn't for music, I wouldn't be here right now.
Why do you think that is? That's a curious statement.
Well, you know how everybody has their thing that they deal with, and like I said, I've spoken about this before. So I mean, this is nothing that's not already public, at least here. I dealt with depression a lot, growing up, for various reasons, and that you know, and that's where music was really heavy, coming in, and it wasn't like a particular song or anything like that, but it was just the fact that that was my escape. It calmed me down. How some people have like certain songs, they were like, oh, that was my go-to song when I was going through this and this and this. Well, I mean, I didn't have like a particular song or songs that I went to. It was just whatever I wanted, whatever I felt like listening to. That's what got me through. Yeah, some of the songs might have been a song or two that might have got me through a particular moment, but it wasn't like my go-to song. It might have been a particular artist. I'll just use Patti LaBelle, for instance, who I listened to a lot growing up. It may have been, it could have been pretty much any song that she sang, and I was like, hey, I'm cool with that. I like that, or whatever, whatever it was. It could have been Donny Hathaway, who is a major, person that I grew up listening to as well. But it was just the music. It was the voices, the arrangement of the music. That was my, escape from, the world and school and, all those things.
Okay. And so at this point in your life, in my notes, it said that you kind of moved around Michigan a little bit. Is that true?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Oh, yeah, pretty much. Detroit, Saginaw, Flint, Lansing, all over. Yeah, pretty much all over Michigan. I mean, I graduated from high school in Saginaw, Michigan, so I'll put that out there in case anybody's from Saginaw listening. I have family in Cincinnati, Ohio, so hey, if they listening, so or watching, so yeah. Oh yeah, man. We were between Ohio and Michigan, always growing up, so I pretty much know Cincinnati very well.
That's great. So you ended up in Arizona. That's where you are today.
Yes.
And do you recall what year you ended up in Arizona?
I've been in Arizona. Yes, I do actually. Do I really want to tell it? No, but I'll tell it. No, I came here in '08. If my math is correct, I've been here for about 15 years.
15 years.
So can I count? 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah. Yep. '08.
Okay. So you've made some roots there, or settled down.
Yeah.
In Arizona, and you founded the band Burn Bridges in Arizona. You and your bass player. Is that correct?
Yeah. But before that, let me just tell the story. So when I first moved here, it took me probably about a year to once really get a job and do all those things, because I pretty much started all over when I moved out here. And so it took me probably about a year before I started trying to navigate through the scene out here, and I ended up in this one band. I forgot the name of the band at that time, but I'm sure I got the name around here somewhere because I keep everything. The band at that time, and then that band broke up, and then probably about it's almost a year. Probably almost a year later, that same one of the guys from that same band called me and asked if I wanted to be back in the band. They had already got another singer and all of that, and then asked if I wanted to come back and sing with the person that was in the band at that time, which I went on ahead and I did that for a couple years. Then we broke up, and then the second band the second band that I was in for 5 years, and then that was the band. Each band actually was a learning experience, actually. So that band I was in for 5 years is where I actually learned to start writing lyrics. So each band was actually something positive. Actually, something positive actually came out of each band that I was in. But the one I was in for 5 years is where I had to learn how to start writing lyrics and arranging and doing various things. And I remember the guy he was like, well, do you write? And I said, well, I mean, I do poetry and things like that. I said, but I'm not a writer. And he said, well, we're going to need some lyrics for some of these songs. And I was like, well, okay, I see what I can do. And that's where the writing part really started taking note. Because like I said, I was holding on to all this stuff because, I was fine just singing. If somebody else wrote the stuff, then I was fine with, doing that and, kept all that to myself. And then eventually after 5 years, that band broke up. And so I just kind of bounced around from band to band until me and my bass player, ended up I met him in another band right before Burn Bridges. And I answered an ad on Craigslist that the drummer at that time in that previous band had posted, and I answered that ad, and I went in and did an audition. And one of they had some music. There was the groundwork for some music that they were working on, and I had lyrics that I had already, I had actually wrote on the spot for the audition, which actually turned out being the song that we do now to this day, since I wrote the lyrics and my bass player wrote, the bass to it and everything. That we do is a song called Overwhelmed, which I wrote the lyrics to, and it's semi-autobiographical. One of the hardest songs I've ever had to sing, actually. But that was actually my audition. That was actually my audition song, and I wrote the lyrics on the spot.
When did you discover? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
When did you discover that you had an inclination towards poetry and writing?
Oh, in college. Again, it was one of those talents that I just kept to myself. So and I had to write a paper or something like that, and if I remember correctly, in college, and somewhere along in the paper, I did a poem or something like that, and like I said, I've always written stuff, but again, it was in college where the poetry really started coming out.
Okay, and I'm curious to know as well, when did you finally say, okay, I'm going to sing? Was that in Arizona, or did that happen in Arizona?
I never stopped singing. Yeah, I never stopped singing. I was always singing in choirs and groups. I did, some groups back in Michigan, and in college, I was in a choir. In college, I was in a choir. We were actually a recording choir. We were actually on an independent label out of Chicago. So we traveled a little bit, did a little bit of that in college, and so no, I never stopped singing.
Did your family move with you to Arizona, or did you leave your family back in Michigan?
It's just me. I have some extended family here, but not my immediate family.
Extended family. Okay.
Yeah.
Very, very good. So you and your bass player you end up starting this band, Burn Bridges. That's the band
Yes,
you're in today.
that's the band today. Yes.
So tell us, and I see the sign back there, the Burn sign, as I was sharing earlier. I've got the CD.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this one plays on in my car. I think I'm probably one of the only people I know that have a CD player in their car. So tell me a little bit about Burn Bridges and the notion behind rock and roll.
Hard rock soul.
Hard rock soul. Hard rock soul. Tell me about
Hard rock soul. So first of all, let me give a shout out because I'm glad they allow me to do the stuff that I do. So I designed the cover on that CD and on the CD and the CD label. So I did all that on the computer myself. So I'm glad the guys let me do all that. So Hard Rock Soul, it just really came about. It wasn't anything planned or anything like that. Me and my bass player, his name is Brian. So Brian and I, after the first band broke up, we started talking, and we just, and we were just talking back and forth, like, why don't we just keep the thing going on? And we didn't really have a name, at the time when we started. And then he knew our original drummer. They would do some stuff on the side, and eventually, I'm giving you the edited version of it, but eventually that drummer came in, and then he had a friend. Crazy part is, when I met his friend, I went to junior high in Michigan with his friend, and I remembered the guy when we met. So that was the original lineup, and then fast forward to now, it's myself, Brian, and then we have this guitar player guy who's great. I mean, he's a young guy. Right, he's the youngest guy in the band, I put it like that. But I mean, he's his name is Ron, and so his background is jazz, blues, rock. I mean, and he's just as diverse as we are. And then our current drummer, his background is really heavy blues and rock. And so when the band first came together, we had more of a metal, had a metal hard rock sound, and the blues and everything has always been in there because of my background. And then now it's more, it has really come together, and it really, we've really, tightened it up even more. So you get that balance of rock, soul, blues, jazz. You get all that. You get the heavy rock as well. So you get it all together. It's more cohesive, now, and we've only been together as a band for like three years. Brian and I have been friends for about I think we were thinking about 4 or 5 years. So
that's a lot of pieces and a lot of people and some diverse backgrounds. So what is as a group, what is your process? Can you walk us through the creative process for Burn Bridges?
It's very organic, actually. A lot of the songs that are on that CD actually came out of jam sessions. There was really like no plan, well, we're going to write a song about this. We're going to write a song about this. Usually starts out, if you listen to a lot of the music on it, it's really bass heavy. So a lot of times, Brian may have, some licks or something that he'll bring in, some stuff he's working on, and he'll bring it in to practice. And we're like, what do you guys think about this? And we'll mess around with it. And I'm always writing lyrics anyway, so I always guess them. I'm like, well, let me see if I got something in my phone that'll go with that, and then the guitarist, chime in and add his part, and then the drummer will add his part. And like I said, a lot of those songs, they just happen organically, and usually 10 times out of 10, I always have a title, anyway, if I already got lyrics. And so the oldest song on there, actually, well, lyrically, the oldest song on the CD is actually Cigarettes and Whiskey. I actually wrote the lyrics when I was in a previous band, and like I said, the band I was in for 5 years. And so when I left, I took my lyrics with me, and so when Brian and I were in the previous band, they were messing around, with some music, and then we had and I tried my lyrics with that, and then it actually worked out. And then fast forward to now, we retuned everything, and Cigarettes and Whiskey is actually one of the favorites of everything that we did with the song. So, but it's pretty organic. Like I said, we like to do it out of jam sessions, and just come up and see what everybody brings to the table. That's how What's So Good About Goodbye came about. I wrote the lyrics, I came up with the melody to it. I did all that, and then I had held on to it for probably about a year and a half or so. And then one day in rehearsal, I was talking to Brian and Ron. I'm like, let me sing this a cappella to you guys and see what you guys can come up with. So Ron started messing with it first, and then Brian chimed in and started messing with it. So it was just the three of us at first, and then we added the drum. Then the drummer added his, later on, and then when we finally, when I finally recorded the song, I wanted them on it, and so we all had a hand in it, in getting that song out there, which I'm so happy about, that I finally get a chance to put my solo song out there.
So Burned Bridges, the members of Burned Bridges, are also playing the accompanying music to What's So Good About Saying Goodbye. What's so good about
What's So Good About Goodbyes? Ron plays the bass on it. So Ron plays the guitar on it. So the opening when the song opens up, the guitar, that's Ron. And the bass on it is Brian, and then my producer at the time, Tommy Gibbons. I want to give him a shout out as well. The KMS Studios here in Arizona. He and I came up with the rest of the music while we were in the studio. So that's how and that's why it has more of a has kind of like that 70s soul sound to it, because that's actually what I wanted. That part was actually done on purpose. I wanted more like that. I wanted it kind of retro, but also modern, and I wanted that 70s soul feel put on it.
So I guess that's a good place to ask about the vision behind the solo act. What is your vision and inspiration behind that? I know you shared a little bit about that, but can you go a little bit more in depth?
As far as my vision, well, really, it just really I've always wanted to do both, do the band and do solo. So that's always been my vision, to do both. I mean, I love music, man, and I just like I said, if and I don't want to say this negatively or anything like that, but if the band decided for, life reasons that, hey, we can't do this anymore, I still have the solo thing that I can still pursue as well. But, the band is not going anywhere, thank God. And my solo thing isn't going anywhere. So I've always wanted to do both. And so this has always been a dream of mine to do both, and to be at a spot where I can actually do my own music. And we do all original music.
Yeah, that's great. You bring a lot to the table: the writing, the poetry, the singing. I noticed that you did a lot of the arrangement from the Burned Bridges album. So that's good, and I'm glad that you're working on your solo album. Do you have any more songs coming up, or you just have the one right now?
Just have the one right now. I have some ideas for another one, but we're working on as well. Also working on. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, probably about 5 new songs that we're working on for the second Burn Bridges album. 3 of them we've been already performing them live, because I always say, let's test them out. We like to test them out and see what kind of reaction we, get from them. And a lot of times, even with that first CD, a lot of those songs, we worked those out as we were out, performing them to get them to the point to where they are at on, on the CD. And I like doing it that way because I think for me it's fun. And then you get an honest feedback. And being an original band, you have to work a lot harder than a cover band. And that's not saying cover bands don't work hard or anything. But as being an original band, because you do all original music, people are not familiar with your music. You have to work a lot harder, win those people over because they're not familiar with it. And I'm like, what is this? And I think we've done pretty good. And the crazy part about it is when we were starting out, we were getting a bunch of metal shows, and we're not a metal band, but hey, the metal crowd kind of put us out there, and I can't take that away from them. So
metal, interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I can get that.
Yeah.
When I listen to you, your group, there's an edginess to your music, definitely.
Yeah.
But when I listen to it, there's a lot going on there, and I do hear those elements that you talked about, those influences. So that's interesting that you decided to go and play your own music. That's difficult to do. And so what kind of advice would you give to others who are thinking about playing but are choosing to play other people's music for fear that they won't be successful if they share their own?
I say, I mean, don't. How do I want to say this? I'll say this. I'll say it like this. However it comes out, don't stifle your passion. Don't stick to your goal. If you want to do original music, do original music. I mean, because you never know, how, until you put it out there, you'll never know. And you just gotta stick to your guns and just, hey, this is what I'm gonna do. And it's okay to do, some covers because there are many bands that do originals and covers. We just decided as a band, and I decided that personally as well, that I'm gonna always do original music. And I can say I think the lineup that we have right now, that we've always had, even with the revolving members at the time, the music actually is really good, and from what people have told us, the music is actually really good, and that's how we're able to for people to pay attention, and it also helps that you have a decent stage show on top of that, and the one thing I think that works well for us is that we're not phony. People can they'll see if you're phony. I always try to stay very authentic. Those that know me know I'm not afraid to cry on stage, and if I'm feeling something, I'm gonna do it. And what you see is what you get. And I like to relate to people, and I want people to relate to me.
Yeah, that's good advice. I think not to stifle your gifts because people do that, and if you rewind back to you were growing up and feeling different about your gifts because everyone else was trying to hit the high notes and sing kind of in that box, what's safe and what's popular and what people know. So that's good. I think that is great advice to give to people because you could get stuck there. And
you really can. Which is why I don't ever want to be. Which is why I don't ever want to be, put in a box. Just because I do what we created our own genre actually. So, because of what I do, I do hard rock soul, but but there's funk in there and there's jazz and there's blues. Even though we do all of that, I tell people, I'm like, don't put us in the box because if there's like a metal show coming up, we can play with that. If it's a rap show, we can do that. We just bring us and we can play all these different genres. So, that I've never been that guy that always, wants to be put in a box, and people are like, well, you have to be marketable. You have to do this particular thing. And I'm like, no, I don't. And if you listen to music, if you really listen to music on a national scene right now, well, well, I'll put it like this: if you have like satellite radio and things like that, where you get a more diverse, genres of music, and you hear that a lot of the music nowadays, it really is a mix of all these different, genres and subgenres and all these other, things that, with music, nowadays. There's really like no pure R&B, there's no pure pop, and there's no pure gospel, and they all mix with, and even country, they all mix with different genres and things now.
You said when we were talking a couple days ago, before we went about going live, you mentioned cross-pollination. That's how you described it to me, that there's this cross-pollination going on. And I like it because it says it in 2 words, and that's exactly right. And do you think that's a good direction to go, or do you feel that it's still good to have some pure forms?
Well, there's nothing wrong with, I know what you're getting at. Yeah, there's nothing wrong. No, I mean, the pure form, it's fine, and I think a lot of it too just depends on the person's background, because look at oh God, I hope I say his name right, the guy from Kiss, the lead singer. I forgot his real name.
Maybe the chat knows the name. Lead singer of Kiss.
Yeah, I forgot his name, but and I've always liked the guy anyway. But a lot of people don't know that he does R&B. He has an R&B band. On his side project is an R&B band. But a lot of people don't know that unless they really follow him. You see.
Paul Stanley.
Huh?
I think the name is
Paul Stanley. Yes. Yeah, Paul Stanley. Yes, he has an R&B band. He has an R&B band on the side. So you never know. You never know what people outside their genre, the genre that they're known for. What kind of music that they grew up on and that they like. So yeah, but if your niche is what it is, then yeah, I see why people stay with it. But yes, who was that? Somebody, is it the Unfiltered Taylor? She said, yeah, Paul Stanley. Yes.
So I'm glad you can see those. I was curious if you could see those comments or not.
Yes, I can see them.
So, what has been your biggest challenge as an artist, and how do you overcome this? How did you overcome this?
I think I'm still overcoming. As they say in church, we shall overcome someday, and I'm still overcoming. It's evolution can be, I say, for a lot of people, a good thing, and for some people it's a bad thing because some people don't want to change. But I'm always evolving. I love the process of evolution. Venturing out, trying different things, because I wasn't always that person. Like I said, growing up, I wasn't always that person. But then as I started, really, getting out there more and not, being scared to do it, I'm like, hey, this is great. And, I love this. And, and I've been told no many times, even up until recently. I've been told, no, or you don't have the right sound for, what we're looking for, or, you're this, you're that, or, I would say my favorite quote, my favorite one was that you're too soulful for, the sound that we really want. Yeah, so that's my favorite one.
That mean?
I have no idea what that means, but I have no idea what that means, but I didn't get the gig, so they wanted. I guess they really wanted more of a light rock pop singer or whatever, and I guess my sound was a little too soulful for their particular project.
Yeah. Interesting. I'm going to leave.
Yeah.
If anybody has any questions in the chat, I know I didn't ask last. I'm still learning too. This is episode 2. And so if anybody has any questions that they want to ask Dal, by all means, now's the time to ask those questions. So how do you see your work evolving? Like, where are you going with all of this? You've got Burn Bridges, and you've got Zachary over here, and you've got all these things that you bring to the table, and you're still working on it. Where is it going? Tell me where it's going. We want to know.
Well, I mean, I'm just looking at it like this. Do I have like a goal of what I'm trying to get to? I'm going to say no. I'm just enjoying the ride of of creating and, like I said, evolving. And I'm just actually like everybody else. I'm just seeing where it's gonna go. And so far, like I said, the things that I've accomplished with the band, in the last few years, I mean, locally, I mean, have been actually, I think, pretty good. I mean, of course, we didn't get there on our own. I mean, we've had, a lot of people, help us along the way as well. Some really cool promoters that we continue to work with as well, and got us out, in the scene. And so I'm just looking to see. I'm riding this ride with everybody else, just looking to see, where it's gonna go.
Looks like we have a
so, go ahead.
I'll read it.
Yep, I see it.
How has your personal self-awareness and okay, let me start. I butchered that completely. How has your personal self-awareness and development shaped the evolving of your music? Do you see parallels?
Of course. Yes, I do see parallels, actually, which brings me back to the song "Overwhelmed." So the song "Overwhelmed," which is on the CD, is actually semi-autobiographical. When I wrote the song, like I said, and it's, like I said, even to this day, it's still the hardest song for me to sing live. Because it is so personal, and I've had so many people come to me after they've heard the song, because they went, whatever that they were dealing with in their personal lives, they actually had, there's somebody else out there that was like, hey, he knows what I'm talking about. But the song "Overwhelmed" actually was birthed out of dealing with depression. And again, this is something I talk about, when we perform the song, dealing with depression and, not being, trying to live up to other people's expectations of what you should do. And that gets exhausting and it gets tiring, and, trying to live up to other people's expectations, when I had to step back and really look at me. I'm not there yet, but really look at me and be like, you know what, this is who I am. This is what I want to do. And, and I living up to other people's expectations was actually making me even more depressed. And so and "Overwhelmed" actually came out of that. And then, some things that other people, in my life, have been through. And so, I put all of that into Overwhelmed.
I'm glad you brought up. Hey, Del, I'm going to go ahead and go into it now.
Hi. Oops.
Hey.
Difficult because of the mute issue. So, hello, Tots. I haven't done the on. We talked about it earlier about bringing her on. I usually bring her on at the end. She helps me out, but she's got some questions here, and let's take it away, Tots.
Oh, that's great. Okay. Can you mute your line? I think okay. Is it echoey on the wall side or no? Okay.
Maybe shut your door in your office.
If you just press on your little face right there, it should have a little mute button somewhere. Okay, there we go. Okay, so my question for you, I know we only have so much time. I'll just ask one question. So you talked a little bit about depression and navigating depression. Did you seek any outside help? I know that the music probably helped, and obviously your faith probably played a role, but did you seek any help outside of yourself? I think the mental health conversation is just really big right now. So what did you do to work through your mental health? Well, I don't want to call it mental health issues, but like, what did you do?
It is a mental health issue. Yeah, it is.
I know, but I don't want to put that on you. But like, what did you do to work through your depression?
No.
What advice would you give others who might be working through some mental health issues?
So, I just say for those that, that are dealing with, mental health issues, I am totally open to therapy and all of, all of that. I didn't do any of that. A lot of mine was through just really praying and reading and music and and it helps to talk to people, even and I say this jokingly, but even if they don't even want to hear it, the fact that you were able to get it out and not hold on to it, help, it helped, that helped me. Now, my process is not everybody's process. So, I do, that's why I do recommend, hey, if you don't have anybody to talk to, please seek therapy. And I hate to say this, but, it's a common thing, especially in the Black community. We don't do stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, I am an advocate, for it. But like I said, for me, it wasn't really, I didn't go through therapy or anything like that, but I've always been vocal. I've always been vocal about it, and I've always been able to talk about it. And like I said, even if people didn't even want to hear it, but I was able to get it out. And not hold on to it, and then, just life in general, sometimes can just, take you down those stairs.
Okay, I have one more question. And then this one is more so around the music industry. So we see a lot of examples where people get really far along in their musical career, and we hear like the selling their soul to the music industry, whether that's literally or figuratively. How would you say you kind of stray away from being able to grow your audience, grow your reach, grow your musical talent and success with, being a believer as well? Because there is a little bit of like selling out that some people have had to do that we've heard that are really big artists. So I don't want to go down the conspiracy rabbit hole, but I think it's one part of the conversation musicians don't talk about, as believers ourselves, right? It's challenging sometimes because you want to grow and you want to succeed, and we're seeing people around us succeed, outside of the book that we read and we get to know so well, the Bible. So how do you see, how do you find that balance, I guess, between selling out and keeping your faith strong?
That's a good question. And I think it's kind of I think me and my bass player Brian, I think we kind of talked about that a little bit. I think in a way, and this is just me personally, I can't speak for anybody else, but I think for me personally, I probably would have been further along if I sold out a little bit, but again, I've always been that one. This is the path I'm going to go on. This is what I'm going to do, and eventually, the right people will hear, what I'm trying to do. Whether it's solo or, and also, with the band, and that's what I've always stuck to. Like I said, like I was telling Jay that, I've never been this guy that, to be in a particular box, and I've never been that one to walk with the crowd. I've never been that guy, and I think that's why this band works so well. Because we don't follow the groups and all those other things. We stay neutral, and that's one of the things that works really well with us.
Good. Okay. I could ask tons of questions. As Jonathan knows, I'm a talker, so he lives with me.
I am too.
So
I am too.
I have tons of questions. But I think this has been a great interview. It's been great hearing your stories of upbringing and how it's played a role in just the evolution of your music. So did you want me to ask any more questions, or are you good? Oh.
You can. I'm okay.
Okay,
I'm okay with it. I mean, this is the first time we've actually had a chance to talk, other than saying hi to each other.
Exactly. Yeah, I would say here's one more. I think that there's also this piece of, people get influenced by big artists. I'll stay here with like the conspiracy stuff, but who's like one of your? No, I won't use that. If somebody like Beyonce or Jay-Z were to reach out to you and say, hey, I'd love to collaborate with you and use some of your music. Can you make a song for me? What would be your response, I guess? Because that is more on the secular side of the world. So
Mhm.
are you just open to working with artists like that are in the, yeah, I know you said you have this wide range, but we have heard some things about them in the media and their faith or
Mhm.
lack of faith. So I'm very
Mhm.
vocal and honest. So we know that there's some concerns there with their walk. So
Mhm.
how would you respond to that if they reached out? Because Jonathan and I talk about this so much in our marriage and just
Mhm.
in general, you know, when we think
Okay.
about the role that we play and how we show up in the areas that are our creative focuses, you know,
Mhm.
if somebody came to me tomorrow with $1 million and said, hey, can, you know, certain people I'm not going to work with, right? Because it does go
Mhm.
outside of my faith and my belief. So, and will it be opening me up to certain things? So what are your thoughts on that? How would you approach that situation if you had somebody who you know that maybe isn't a believer or maybe it has
Mhm.
sold out? How would you approach that?
Well, I look at it like this. I hope this answers your question. I look at it like this. One, I'm not perfect, so I can't judge nobody else. But I can. But in my heart, I can stay. I can stay true to me. I can work with anybody. Because my end goal is one. I want to get my music out. I want to get my music out there, and I can do it without selling my soul. Not saying that everybody does that, but I can do that without quote unquote, selling out. Hey, and if an opportunity that big came along, I'm not gonna turn it down. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not gonna turn it down. Because I'm always looking, past that. It's like, and I'm probably going in deep waters here, but it's almost like going to church, and it, you know, it, you can't. I've never been one to really, hang on a pastor's every word, okay? Because you also got to learn it on your
Yeah, we
own.
have to know
And,
for ourselves.
and
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, you got to learn it for. And so, before I go into any situation, I always like to review it and go over it and see what I can get out of it first.
Hmm.
What I can get out of it. And yeah, but if an opportunity that big came along, I'm not going to turn it down. But if I don't feel right about it, I know how to exit.
Hmm. That's good. Yeah, I mean, it's a big conversation, right? We have opportunities left and
Yeah.
right. I mean, we see people on TikTok blowing up from saying the most outrageous things, and they're growing big audiences and they're getting all these deals, but it's tricky. We have to think about it. I actually had somebody reach out a few weeks back asking for like a horoscope cake, and it's because I bake on the
Hmm.
side and stuff. And I said, I'm sorry,
Oh,
I'm not
okay.
open to doing that. I don't want to go
Right.
down that rabbit hole of horoscopes, but everybody's different. I think
Right.
that's where the Holy Spirit comes in. So very interesting.
Mhm.
Well, this was great. Babe, are you ready for me to do announcements or do you want to close out and then I'll do announcements? Okay.
Don't go anywhere.
Okay.
Okay, Tots?
Okay. I'm going to turn off my camera for now, though, while you guys finish up.
Oh, she's gone.
I'll still be
Yep.
here. I'm just going to turn off my camera.
She says she's going to turn the camera, just the camera off for now.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, great. I'm glad that the introduction happened, and those are excellent questions. Really good questions. So, how do we get in touch with you? How do we find you? Where do we connect with the Burn Bridges?
Burn Bridges. You can go to our website at www.burnbridges.com. Our music is on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, pretty much all of the streaming sites. You can download, purchase the music as well. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram. My song is it's on iTunes and Spotify as well. The website would be the main place to go because it also lists all of our current shows as well. Please like our band page. Go to Facebook. Like I said, Burn Bridges is spelled BURN apostrophe D Bridges. And you will find us on Facebook, like our page, on Instagram as well. Also like me on Instagram, and you also reach out to my band brothers as well on Facebook and Instagram also. So yeah, we're all over the place. We're just trying to really get at we're really just trying to get out there and do this hard rock soul thing. We do. I jokingly say we do grown folks music, and we can hang with the 20-year-olds. We can hang with the 60-year-olds. Yes, it is a parent. Yeah, do the one song, but yes, yes. There is a parental on there, but yes, we do grown folks music, and I love this music thing, man. I won't. I'm not gonna stop. I'm not gonna stop doing it. Hey, I want to give it up to my sister Shannon, who's watching. Hey,
Hey, Shannon.
so yeah, Mama Shannon. Yeah, she she's the one that moved out here. Her and I have known each other since we were 17 and 17, 18. And when her and her family moved out here, I said, I'm going. Y'all ain't leaving me here. I'm going too. So, but yeah. But yeah, man, I love doing this music thing, and I'm glad when I moved here, I was able to find what I really wanted to do out here in Arizona. So it's been a ride, man. It's been up, it's been down, but and we're also looking to get out. We want to play. There's some bands in Cincinnati too that I've kind of connected with. I'm trying to get us to come there and play. And since I got family there, I really want to come. I really want to come to Ohio and play, and go to Michigan. And we're really trying to get out more. So hopefully, some bands will see this and be like, hey, check out our music and reach out. They can always reach out to me or the band and hit us up, and hey, maybe we can set something up and come to a city near you.
Dale, it's been a great conversation with you. I'm really glad that we finally got this thing going. And
Yeah.
before we end it, I'd like to ask if there's any final things you want to share with us before I bid you an adieu.
Once again, check out Burn Bridges. Go to Spotify, iTunes, Amazon. Like I said, check out our music. Like our band page. You can go to my individual Facebook page. It's Dale Zachary Green. And again, I'm also on Instagram as well. Pretty much, like I said, all over. And yeah, we also have a TikTok as well, and I also have a TikTok as well. So we're pretty much all over. We're pretty accessible online. Like I said, look out. We are working on new music right now. Some of the music we started, performing live, and we are in the process of actually recording, getting ready to get set up to record our new music.
All right, Dale, thank you so much. When we do publish this on YouTube,
you.
have all of your links there so people can find it. Hey, man, enjoy the rest of your night, and thanks for joining Black Dots.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. This was pretty cool. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, we did too. All right, Tots, can you come back? Would you mind coming back?
Yes, I'm back. Dell, if you want to go ahead and just exit out, and then you can join back in to continue watching. So I have a few announcements for you all. Thank you, everyone, for joining and enjoying this episode of Little Black Dots. Little Black Dots episode number 1 is now on YouTube. So you definitely want to visit the Jonathan Music YouTube channel, where he actually featured DJ Birdsong last month, and it was a fantastic interview with DJ Birdsong. We learned so much. It was pretty entertaining. So if you want to check that video out, it's actually on Jonathan Music's YouTube channel now. The other announcement that I have for you all is the Jonsu album was released last week. It was so amazing. I've heard every song on there, and I'm not just saying that because this is my husband. I promise I'm not biased. I tell him all the time if I think something's good or not, which most of it, honestly, is really great. So I am not biased. It's worth the listen. I always tell him that his music's like productivity music for me, because if I'm baking or taking care of the kids or hearing too many people around me, I just plug in my headphones and listen to his music. So definitely go check out the Jonsu album. It was released last week, and it was produced by Wildfire Records. Shout out to Wildfire Records. You can stream it on Spotify, iTunes, and all other major streaming platforms. I see D Green, you're saying you need it. Go get it. It's available for you, so no excuse to not get it. John Sue album, get it today. And then the last announcement that I have, Spaceman, which was also produced by Wildfire Records, shout out, is actually original music that will be debuted tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you don't want to miss that. Please go to the John Sue Music page, subscribe, the Jonathan Music YouTube channel, and subscribe to that channel so that you'll be informed of all updates, all songs that are launched. Like I said, Spaceman is going to be launched tonight, debuted 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We want to give a huge thank you to Alex Sage as well. Not sure why we're thanking him, but my husband told me that we need to thank him, so I'm following what my husband told me to do. I'm an obedient wife for the most part. Sorry, I'm silly. I need a nap. Anyway, definitely go check out Spaceman tonight. I can't wait. I've listened to it. I love it. The thing about Jonathan Music is that you can really listen to it over and over and over again and not get tired of it. It's, you know how sometimes you have those songs that you listen to in the background and like every once in a while your ear picks up on like the part that you really love, but overall you can just let it vibe like through your day. That's what I love about Jonathan Music. So, and that John Sue album is totally like exactly that vibe. You can just play it in the background while you're doing dishes or cleaning your house. I guess I'm talking to moms right now, babes. I'm sorry. I know your audience is pretty much guitar players. But also, if you want to vibe and get more inspiration for what you're already working on, for those of you who are musicians in the chat who are watching, this is a great opportunity to also vibe and like get inspired. That's what I love as well. You can get inspired. So those are the announcements. We thank you all for joining. I thought this was a great interview with Del as well. I thought it was really insightful. It's crazy how the moments that we have in time connect to the next moment. He talked about like a childhood friend who had a friend of a friend and now they're all linked up. Like that's just wild. Like you never know who you're going to meet and how it's going to impact the next chapter of your life. It's like reading a book, right? Like there's a main character. You might be that main character. You go to the next chapter. You make friends along the way and they sometimes continue on in the chapters of our life and sometimes we leave them back in chapter 3. But either way, they're a part of a larger story. So thank you all for watching. Think about those relationships in your life that might be connecting to the next one. And, you know, the world's so small. We all really know each other. So hope you enjoyed Little Black Dots, episode 2. It will be on YouTube. Stay tuned for that. And thanks, babes, for giving me the opportunity to be your announcements lady.
Yeah, absolutely. You're the better half of Jonathan Music. So, like we end it now, I think we did this last time. Tots, take us out.